There's parallel lines. I don't get the sense that we put those here. What have we here? Some kind of weird Stonehenge-like thing? And again, two branching paths, so we'll see. Take the path on the left this time. Curious about those stones there.
I quote directly, a motley lot with little to recommend them. I have now spent 3 days in their company. That is, I fear, enough for any man not born amongst them. Despite their tedious inclination to quote scripture, they seem to me the most godforsaken of all the inhabitants of the outer isles. Indeed, in this case, the very gravity of that term, forsaken by God, seems to find its very apex. It appears to me that Donnelly, too, found those who wander this shoreline to be adrift from any chance of redemption. Did he include himself in that, I wonder?
I was going to say that I really actually enjoy this type of gameplay that's very open to interpretation. The story doesn't come right out and hit you over the head. It's like, oh, hey, there's a zombie outbreak here, and blah, 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 you know? And you're left to kind of piece together on your own. As long as I feel like there is a definite message. If it's just a series of random symbols all thrown together, it's like, oh, make what you will of it. I don't feel like that's really deserving of any kind of artistic merit. I could go into my kitchen right now and dump out my silverware drawer and find some meaning in it, you know. I think there does need to be a direction behind this. But the question is whether it's a direction that we can find ourselves or one that needs to be clearly laid out before us.
Dear Esther, I met Paul. I made my own little pilgrimage. My Damascus, a small semi-detached on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. We drank coffee in his kitchen and tried to connect to one another. Although he knew I hadn't come in search of an apology, reason or retribution, he still spiraled in panic, thrown high and lucid by his own dented bonnet. Responsibility had made him old. Like us, he'd already passed beyond any conceivable boundary of life.
So I'm starting to get a very distinct concept. This island is like limbo. Like perhaps I'm traveling through limbo right now. Reconnecting pieces from my memory.
This hermit, this seer, this distant historian of bones and old bread, where did he vanish to? Why, asked the farmers. Why, asked Jacobson. Why bother with your visions at all, if you're just to throw your arms up at the cliff and let it close in behind you and seal you into the belly of the island, a museum shut to all but the most devoted?
Strange symbols on the wall. Luminescent carvings and drawings. Chemical symbols again. That's glow-in-the-dark paint we saw in the first house. Juxtaposed with these much more organic-looking paintings that look like roots. Roots and branches. Very interesting for the significance that the symbolism of roots and branches holds in a lot of religious traditions. I can't presume to talk at length about it, like I'm very erudite or educated on such, but I know I've heard from what little bit I understand of the Kabbalah, it's a sect of Jewish mysticism, that they kind of view the world through this lens of roots and branches. The idea being that there's our physical world here that we see, that's the branches, but everything in this physical world stems from a root in the spiritual world. There's a scripture saying that not a blade of grass grows that does not have an angel telling it to grow. So is that concept of this duality that everything we see here in our reality is the manifestation of something from another reality. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with what the developers intended or not, but it's certainly an interpretation I'm willing to run with for right now.
I dreamt I stood in the center of the sun, and the solar radiation cooked my heart from the inside. My teeth will curl and my fingernails fall off into my pockets like loose change. If I could